The following is a conversation between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am. And the subject is the emotional aspect of the solar plexus in Scorpio. The date is 16th of November 2020. Me. Everything said yesterday was very intense. Information that I have been receiving for a long time and separately begins to be closed and understood. I keep marveling at things, how everything interconnects perfectly. The puzzle makes sense. I am. That's why I always tell you, don't despair before the signs, before a dream, message, or channeling. Write it down, record it, but don't put your mind to it. Let it settle. When you receive information from the world that surrounds you, it is like receiving pieces of that puzzle of which you cannot understand the image. And one day you will discover that small piece that gives meaning to all the others, and you understand the image that has been building for years in just a second. Me. It's fascinating that life's clear. I am. Universal entropy, the concept that everything is chaotic and heading for greater chaos, is the perception from the point of view of life, of experience, where you see the parts but cannot see the whole. When you close your eyes and instead of despairing, you wait and contemplate, you will see that little part that gives meaning to everything else. Like that moment when you placed yourself in a point of view where you see the beautiful mandala that makes up the whole. There you understand the concept of universal syntropy, in which you recognize that everything tends to order and is part of an overwhelming logic. The order has always been there, you just can't see the whole from where you're standing. Me. That explains why beings from other dimensions speak to us about the future as poetry, as codes, because what is the future for us is only a landscape for them. We see the car in which we travel, and they see the landscape ahead, from above, as if on a hill. The driver cannot see the curve behind, but the one on the hill can tell us that we will have to turn. They don't see the future, they see the global landscape. I am, so you can understand better. And from where they are, they can't see the details either. Maybe they see the curve, but not the wells that are there. Each being will tell you apart his point of view from the past, present, future, from specific distances. A divine mandala, a fabric that expands in all directions in a magical way. Me. I can imagine it when I close my eyes. It's beautiful. It's the network. We are all interconnected in it in different layers, and each being that speaks to us through it tells us in its own way what it sees from its place. His advice is a team effort. When we talked about the law of 12, it reminded me of a Russian doll, a matryoshka, in which the systems repeat themselves in the same way, one inside the other, fractals, where our organic systems are like the star systems of the constellations. Everything connected, like a huge clock with its gears, small and large, all essential. I am. Atlantis. Do you remember the main idea of the city? Me. Connect the gears of the 3 times and the 3 spaces. 3 concentric circles surrounded by water, connected by bridges in the 12 directions, towards the domains of the 12 families. Many sites were so built for this purpose. 3 groups of priesthoods in charge of different themes. On the Nile, they were the Emenian, Arsayian, and Idyllian. I am. What did they use it for? Me. They said it was a way of living with all of us in all directions of time and space, connected. A way of feeling the presence of all those who were in other dimensions, realities, times, of living together and being able to communicate. We lived in places that allowed us to interact with more things than what we saw. I am. And what happened when civilization fell? Me. The cities stopped being used, and the circles too. Only some were kept for specific tasks at portal moments, such as solstices and equinoxes, but they no longer lived with the other dimensions. Now the world was divided between the living and the dead, the here and the hereafter. The water was the way to talk with them. with the others. And for this reason, every so often a trip was made on the river to navigate with beings from other dimensions. And we called the origin and end of the Nile as Nan-Ah, the sacred window that today they call Lake Victoria, and Habadabtra, the mirror of the afterlife that today they call Lake Karun. Dividing the two worlds made people afraid of going to the other side, or afraid of communicating with the dead or those who dwell between dimensions. There was insecurity. I am ghosts. Me, Rujim el-Hiri, the Golan Heights Circle in Israel. I just remembered it. 3 concentric circles connected by lines. In modern Hebrew, it is known as Galgal Rephaim, meaning Wheel of Ghosts. I've been several times, and ancestors have always come to speak. I could see the wheels turning, and in doing so, it was like a kind of machine that combined time and space, where the projection of all history could be seen. They said that its form refers to the 3 levels or bodies of being, subconscious, unconscious, and conscious, which manifest in the physical, emotional, and mental, anchored in the thought of the intestine, the heart, and the brain. Inside the Russian doll, we are the physical part, the biological body where realities are anchored. We are like the gravitational weight on which all the subtle planes rotate. Therefore, by putting ourselves at the center of things, all the other planes find their destiny and order. I am. Since the great network of consciousness was disconnected, millions of beings wander through the lower astral without finding a center. Ancestors who have not known where to go, soldiers killed in battle, souls in pain. Many refused to abandon the life that was taken from them. They live anchored in the longing for what was, clinging to the bonds of those who still live in the physical system. Me, that is, that since we stopped having coherence with the interdimensional wheels, many beings have been trapped, without finding the bridges between the circles or spheres, wandering in the waters in Charon's boats. I am. Matter is like that black hole that absorbs the light of the galaxies. It is a point of such gravitational force that every celestial body that does not have its own axis is engulfed by its force. Your bodies are like black holes for the lights of the 4th and 5th dimensions. And if the gears with all the planes are not aligned, the bridges will be closed, leaving trapped hundreds and thousands of beings who, without access or destiny, are attracted from back to the center in matter and its gravitational weight. The need to live, to survive in history, turns fearful beings towards those who, united by resonance, inhabit the 3rd dimension. Me, what we call loved ones. I am, and not so dear. There are many who have been here for centuries or millennia, following their descendants, connected to them by biological ties, unable to process their energies, to free themselves. They remain tied to emotions and share them with those who live. Me, like when we feel things that are not ours, or we get sick and say they are our ancestors, and so we ended up doing therapies and others to heal them. I am, exactly. They cannot cross the bridges, the connections between the circles. The earth is full of wandering spirits who do not find shelter or peace. They can't find the way. Earth is holding a giant weight of millions of beings who still think they live here, but are actually lost between dimensions. It is a weight in the collective subconscious and unconscious that clouds consciousness, prevents us from seeing the horizon clearly. It is necessary to clean it. Me, how? I am. In gear, when the poles are aligned, the Virgin will position herself in the heavens and you will see her starry mantle. Me, end of August 2021, beginning of the month of Virgo. I am. Pole alignment will cause all 3 hands to line up at 12 o'clock and the bridges will reconnect. Me, we will be able to guide many to free themselves, loosen the weight, the tension of the earth in the 4th dimension. I am the last judgment, the moment to spread the mist, to be able to see, removing the veil. Apocalypsos. Me, apocalypse? I am. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She is pregnant and screams as she suffers the pains of labor and the torments of giving birth. Then another sign appeared in the sky, a great red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his heads 7 diadems. The tail dragged a third of the stars from the sky and threw them to the earth. Apocalypse comes from the Greek apokalypsos, which means remove the veil, conceptually revelation. The apocalypse is not the end of things, but the end of blindness. Calypso was the daughter of the Titan Atlas, one of the Atlantean daughters, who, after the Olympic Wars, was sent into exile to live on an island as punishment. Her name represents what is hidden, what is not seen, what hides knowledge. The comfort of believing in what is seen, in the mundane, in not looking beyond, is what trapped men like Ulysses, holding him back from her journey while Penelope waited for him, weaving her web. To go beyond the chambers of Calypso, it was said, apocalypso. When the walkers realized that the world they thought they lived in was not real, the veil is lifted from their eyes, and they see the journey that awaits them. This is how humans find themselves, but this is also how all the souls in pain are waiting for the apocalypse, the final judgment, where the fog of their consciousness moves and they can see the paths. Me, it's a lot of symbology. I am. The blue moon will be in Virgo, Mother Earth, dressed in the stars. The dragon is the kundalini that goes through the 7 heads, the chakras, representing the physical world, the birth of the new humanity, the liberation of the children of the hidden knowledge. The 10 horns are the announcements that will sound. You'll understand, there's no rush. But well, you know now, the task. Me, what you're telling me is very strong. I am. It's not. We all knew that we are preparing for the apocalypse. The problem is that they created demonic enemies in him, when the only enemy is ignorance. Me. So, what are the steps? I am Penelope, this dedicated and faithful woman who waits for Odysseus, her husband, for 20 long years on his return from the Trojan War. Although for about 7 she remained with Calypso, who made her blind to reality, Penelope, with faith, kept waiting for him. Many of her wanted to marry her, but she herself made a promise to her. She would marry again when she managed to finish a shroud that she wove for her mother-in-law. But whatever she wove during the day, she unwove at night. Penelope represents the hope of the web weavers, that the expected moment will come. 20 years. That moment when the hero, the self, frees himself from the jaws of Calypso's illusion, seeing the truth, returning to the weaver, who will finally be able to finish his weaving, his blue veil. In biology, weaving and unweaving refers to the tissues that make us up, and the suitors are the lower passions, the instinctive emotions. That is why the faun told you the 12 systems. Me, each of the biological systems are organic tissues that we must weave and unweave, becoming aware of them, recognizing them. And if I do, I free myself and all the ghosts connected to me. I am. You release them from their melancholy. Remember its meaning, melas, black, and chole, bile. Bile is a secretion produced by the liver and stored in the gallbladder, which is released to the duodenum when eating food, since this bitter and oily liquid is corrosive, breaking down fats for better absorption in the intestines. So what do we mean by melancholy? Which are all those things that I have not been able to process, disintegrate, break down to understand and assimilate, all those things that have not been digested. Melancholy stops us in the past, trying not to transform things and remain as they once were. In the same way that when eating, we wanted the food to never change its shape because it was too beautiful and you liked it. All the ghosts in the world, both living and dead. Me. In other words, the apocalypse is not something external. It is not what announces the end of the world, but it is something that we are going to produce, something that removes the veil from our eyes, that seeks to make us transcend melancholy. I am. In the end of times, everyone wants to be saved, but no one will be saved if they cannot see the instant of the grey man, of the neutral being, because only the revelation of truth will set them free. All history and prophecy do not speak of real events, but of psychological circumstances, processes of the soul processed by the perception of the mind. Me. It is a great puzzle that we must put together this year. I am. All ghosts are trapped in the shadows of this world, connected to the human digestive system, to the center of gravity of the plexus, where bile is found. The melancholy that says every past time was always better makes us go to the Egyptian, Mesopotamian, Greek, and Latin stories to understand their melancholy. Identify your melancholy. Identify your ghosts from the past. And when the 12th hour is reached, when the Virgin dresses as the sun in heaven and places her feet on the 7 heads of the dragon, it will be the moment of revelation. It is time to lift the veil. Tick, tock, and everyone will find the way.